We are. I didn't even put in the fucking stream key. Jesus Christ in heaven. I really am retarded. I, wow. I mean, sometimes it's astonishing that I've made it this far. Three, two, one, and we are recording and streaming on Friday, January 10th, 2025 at 12:37 p.m. Eastern time, and I just fucked up the stream key. I fucked up the title. I fucked up your name. I fucked up the branch you were. I mean, really, haven't been up to a hot start today or yesterday. So, but I know you through, or not know you. I got to, or been introduced to you through Dawn, who everybody knows is locked in my basement, and talking about about how, you know, essentially per your words, and I don't know how to word it, I don't know what the official wording is, you know, either reprimanded or punished or removed or whatever the fuck from the military for your beliefs. And that's, as you said beforehand, you're like, depending on your questions. And no, I just every day come into this thing, and it's like Russian roulette. Every day I just spin the wheel, and I've just not blown my brains out yet. So the show keeps going. But dude, introduce yourself and kind of give
All right.
everybody, I suppose me too, a kind of what it is that happened.
Thank you for having me on, Tommy.
Sure.
So, introducing myself, I spent just shy of 6 years in the Army. My last duty station is the important one for this discussion. I was working at the White House Communications Agency, which is
Hmm.
a military branch. I think you've interviewed someone from White House
I
Communications
did
Agency
a
before.
long time ago.
Yeah,
John Beckenhauer. He was a CH-47 pilot from Vietnam, and he had WHCA, right?
yeah, Waka,
Yeah.
as we called it. Um,
Fuck.
yeah, it is a um, military agency, so its commander is either an Army or an Air Force colonel under the White House Military Office, and their job is provide communications for president, vice president, for White House staff, all that. Um, uh, by trade, I was satellite communications, but that's not really what I did there. I maintained classified phone lines. Um, And then I also traveled. I was on the POTUS second residence travel team. So when Biden went to Delaware, it was about
Hmm.
a 50-50 chance I was on that trip. Um, um, I got I got to Waka in November of 2020, a week after the election. So fantastic
Oh,
time to get there.
well, that just answered every other question I had.
Yeah. Um, uh, Trump was still in office. Um, but I wasn't really doing much until after the inauguration. COVID still had everything mostly shut down. Uh, two people going into the office at a time, and then everyone else working from home. Which, when you're working on classified information, there's not much you can do from home.
No.
Um, so, um, uh, Spring and summer, I started traveling a lot. That summer, I was traveled about 50, 55 days. um, 7 trips to Delaware, 5 to his lake house in Wilmington, 2 to his beach house in Rehoboth, and then in September I had just gotten back from a trip to his beach house. Um, Gotten back on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday evening I had a day off. You get a day off if you for every trip, so I had a day off and get a call from my boss, my NCOIC, and he says, "Hey, are you at home?" I say, "Yeah, what's up?" He said, "Stay there." Okay. I wasn't planning on doing anything. I was sitting down to start watching a movie.
I was jerking off and eating Taco Bell. Will do.
And then probably about 30 minutes, an hour later, knock on my door and go to answer the door. And it's two FBI agents and a Secret Service agent at the door. They show their badges, introduce themselves. Um, and then start asking me questions about my job, things like that. They said that they brought the Secret Service agent because of where I worked, because I was at the White House. Um, and then start asking me questions. And at this point, I'm thinking this is part of a background check for me to get read onto
Like,
some special access program or something
yeah,
like
some
that.
like Yankee white shit or
Well, I
whatever.
already had my Yankee
Oh,
white, but
but yeah,
above
but
that,
like
yeah,
I said
yeah,
the military equivalent of like you're climbing the corporate ladder.
yeah. I was already approved for SCI, but I was not approved for SAP. So I thought what's running through my mind is they're doing just part of a background check
Going to Area
investigation for
51,
that.
baby.
For that, and I'm like, okay,
Fuck yeah.
cool. So I didn't invite them in. I'm standing out in the hallway of my apartment building answering these questions because I'm not going to invite the feds into
No, fuck off.
my
Yeah,
place. But I'll talk to them outside.
sure.
Um, and then they start bringing up where was I on January 6th? Well, I was at work. Um, do you know Don the Pleb? Is this Don the Pleb? Is this your brother? Because my brother was at January 6th with Don. Um, and I lived in Northern Virginia. I opened up my home for people to stay. Um, we made a bunch of uh, sandwiches and granola bars and chips and bottled water to give out to people that were there at the protest. That was all done at my house, and it was
You are aiding and abetting. This is you essentially gave Bin Laden a rifle. That's the same thing you just did.
oh, of course, of
You gave
course,
a rifle to Bin Laden, ham sandwich to Don, rifle to Bin Laden. I see no difference.
yeah, of course, exactly the same.
I'll get you.
And um, and at that point, I realized this is not about a background check for security clearance stuff. This is a investigation into January 6th, and this
Mm,
is towards the end of September of 2021. So
okay.
good 9 months after it happened, 8 9 months, something like that. And um, so they were also asking me about what were all my social media, and I'm like, well, I don't really have much. I have like Discord, and that's it. Um, and they were getting all of those details, and then they when they started asking about Dawn, I started being a little bit more vague with my answers, um, because like what's going on? They didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to give them anything to try to incriminate anyone, twist words or anything like that. And um, and then they left. And in retrospect, there were some things that I probably should have just ended the conversation there, but it was already in the middle of the conversation. It's really
It's
weird to stop it in the middle.
it's when I was visited by the FBI after January 6th, it's a lot like Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan to get punched in the face.
Yeah,
You're always like, yeah, somebody comes to your door, you say, I don't need a lawyer. Well, they never show up and say, are you going to get incriminated? That it kind of, they get you by surprise. The FBI, like, oh shit, yeah, fuck's going
yeah,
on. Your
and
first thought are like, what's going on? I remember when it happened, I was like, is something happening? Because I was in Maryland. I was like, is something in this neighborhood? My first thought was like, fuck, they're like interviewing people. Was there like a bomb nearby? And so
yeah,
there's no like, open the door, like, and I'm going to tell them I know my right. No, it just gets you. It'd be like if halfway through this conversation, I like asked you out on a date. I'm heterosexual. You'd be like, what? You kind of
yeah.
they get you at 4 p.m. on a Monday. You're like, wait. So it's not
6
until
p.m. on a
after.
Thursday.
Exactly. So it's like you should have said you need it. It's like you don't. It. It's in if someone swings at me, I'll dodge and hit them with the right. Until Mike Tyson hits you with a haymaker at 3 a.m. You
Yeah,
don't.
and I'd gotten a call from my boss 30 minutes earlier, so I was like,
It's all
this is
Gucci. Like,
probably something to do with my job.
yeah,
And then
yeah. It's not
asking
even that
about
you're
social
like
media
made.
stuff, and
Like
I'm like, okay, this is probably pretty normal for an investigation like
I was
this.
about to say, it's even more. It's even more fucked for you because, like, for me, it was like I did a podcast and I should have been like somewhat more alert. You literally worked at the White House. This is pretty
Yeah,
par for the course. Like, what's
yeah.
up, dude? Yeah. Sorry,
I
keep
mean,
going.
2 days before, I was at Biden's beach house.
Yeah, you're not a national security. You're not a Manchurian candidate.
You
But yeah,
you
so you
don't
start
you don't get those jobs, and unless they've done
you've been
a
cleared.
normal TSSCI clearance, not even Yankee White.
Yeah,
I think that cost the government about $100,000 to do that investigation.
absolutely. Well, it's like when I have on like Delta Force or Ground Branch guys,
Yeah,
and I'm like, thanks for doing this, and you know, because and I realized like I don't have to like prove myself. Like Dale signed off on me. Dale was like, I like Tommy. Like it's already done. By the
yeah,
time whoever
yeah,
working there, talking, whatever. But so it's going on, you're getting more vague, but you also can't walk back what you've already said.
yeah. So they wrap up. I don't remember if they left me a card or not. They might have. That's pretty par for the course, so they probably
Yeah,
did.
I think I still have mine.
Um, I guarantee I don't have mine. And they leave, and then I go back and continue watching my movie. Like, well, first I shoot a message to Don and say, hey, I got, and my brother say, hey, I got visited by the feds, and they were asking questions about you. And then a little bit after they left, I got a call from my first sergeant, and he says, um, tomorrow morning when you come into work, meet me at the outside the gate to the compound. Um, the White House Communications headquarters is not at the White House; it's at Joint Air Force Navy Base in DC, Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. So they have a compound on that base. So he said, meet me at the gate to the compound and bring your badge, your trip pin, your phone, all of the stuff that we've given you
Mm.
that's at all sensitive, uh, phone, computer, all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, this isn't just about other people. This is about me too. So I do, and meet him and my section commander, a major, so major and a first sergeant. Um, and they escort me up to the J2 security office, and they were in a real rush to get me out because they escort me up, and I'm escorted up by one of the Marine security forces guys. So they're all armed
Hmm.
and um, escort me up to the security office. I turn in all of my badges and phone and computer, and they say, "Okay, here's to sign to read off SCI because everyone in there is read on to SCI." And so I sign the read off, and then they say, "Are you read on to SAP?" And I say, "No, I'm not read on to SAP." And, well, here's the paperwork to read off anyway. And they're like, they didn't even bother to check to see if I was, because I know they have that information for because they have who's
Yeah,
read on.
yeah.
So technically, I've read off to programs that I haven't read on to. And it's not like when you read off, they don't tell you details of programs. They just say you no longer have access. Um, and then they drive me over to Fort Myer, where there's the administrative headquarters for the Army side. Because when you're in a joint agency like that, they don't have UCMJ authority over you. So if there's any UCMJ action that needs to happen, they have to send you over to um, your specific branch headquarters, which for the Army is at Fort Myer, right by Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington. And so they dropped me off there, and It was casual Friday for them there, and only my first sergeant was in. Everyone else was out, and so I sit down. He gets me straightened, squared away, and then I spend the next, it's end of September, 3 months or so in limbo, 3 or 4 months in limbo, while they're while I'm under investigation. Just doing menial stuff. I still had my security clearance, so I was helping out
Sure.
security office. They um, and you would think if I'm this big security threat, you would pull my top secret security clearance, right? That's
You'd
one of the
be
first things you would do.
you'd be blacked out immediately. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be
I still
totally
had
X'd out.
I still had it.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I still have it. Well, it's probably expired by now, but
Huh.
it's been a few years since I've been out. But I left the military with it. Um,
So it's
and
weird. It shows how serious and unserious it is. It shows how serious it is, then clearly there's an impetus from on high to do it, and how
mhm,
unserious it is because they didn't go through all the motions.
yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Um, so at some point, they say, okay, Army CID wants to interview you. So I get a military lawyer, basically the military equivalent of a public def public defender for at least the initial steps, because I'm not sure where this is going. So why pay money? I can have a public defender help me out for the initial stuff. Um, and um, go down to Fort Belvoir to the CID office there. They fingerprint me, mugshot me, um, sit me down in the interview room, and I say, I want a lawyer. I'm not answering questions. I want a lawyer. And they go, okay, and send me on my way. And in that, they had the list of questions. No, I had my lawyer send to them, we want the list of questions to see if we want to answer any of them. Because we had no clue what was going on. Me or my lawyer had no clue what was going on. So if we know what questions they're asking, we can sort of piece together what they want.
Hmm.
Um, we weren't planning on answering any of the questions. We just wanted to know what they wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So they send me questions like, "Do you know Don the Pleb? Um, have you ever been a part of kidnapping the? Made any plans to kidnap a governor? Have you ever
No, I don't work for the FBI.
have you ever been a part of planning a coup
Are you part of a
or killing
militia? Have you armed
general
a
officers or
militia?
things
Yeah.
like that?"
Like, what the
And I have no idea where this is going. Um, and um,
I'm so stupid that if they were doing this, if I'm in your position after everything I know and everything that's happened, part of me is still holding out for like they're like sheep dipping me and I'm going into the CIA. Like it's all
no,
for a show. No, that's how much of a fucking faggot I am. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be James Bond. I would absolutely incriminate. I'd still be in Gitmo.
yeah. Um,
Maybe I have. Is that what you want to hear? They're like, no, absolutely not.
um,
Have you? Yeah. So yeah. Have you ever wanted to do this, that, the other thing?
yeah. And it's like, have you ever made plans to kill general officers, generals in the U.S. military? Like, what kind of stupid question is that?
Yeah.
Have I ever made plans to kidnap the governor? Who is the governor? And so I have my lawyer say, no, we're not interested in answering any of those questions. Um, and then they file the chapter paperwork. And for those of you that are watching that have been in the military, it is very weird to have a chapter discharged from the military without any sort of punitive action beforehand. Um, no Article 15s, no history, because normally when you're chaptering someone out, you establish a history of misconduct
Sure.
before you result in discharging someone. So multiple Article 15s, multiple UCMJ action, non-punitive, non-judicial punishment. Marines and Navy like to call it NJP. Army, we tend to call it Article 15. But it's just the code under UCMJ that you're punishing. Extra duty, taking away pay, taking away rank, things like that. Normally, you have multiple of those before you get to a chapter for misconduct. I had nothing, just straight to chapter. And I had to pull out my paperwork again for the nerds out there. I got a chapter 14-12C, commission of a serious offense. What that serious offense is, I'm still not entirely certain, but they referenced AR 600-20, which is Army Command Policy. Army Command Policy is a punitive policy, so you can be punished for violating it, but it's also the policy for commanders. So this is how a commander is supposed to run his command. Things like you must have an open door policy for if someone comes to you with a complaint about leadership. You must be willing to talk to them about it. For covers like equal opportunity, sexual harassment and assault, things like that, for how commanders are supposed to deal with that. And it also covers hazing and bullying. And having read through the entire policy, trying to figure out what they were, because they didn't. This is like a 40, 50-page policy. It's not, and they referenced just the policy. They didn't reference a chapter or a paragraph.
It's like a cop saying, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" But I'm sitting here doing a podcast, and they just knocked on the door. I'd be like,
Yeah,
I don't even what?"
yeah. So we think, and they also, as evidence in the chapter paperwork, they submitted the FBI investigation into me, the results of the FBI investigation into me, which I think they were trying to get me with something like Hatch Act stuff, where you're not supposed to, representing the military, you're not supposed to say certain things regarding politics. And what they did was they got quotes of things that I had said on Don's server. Don has a private matrix server. And in the general room, there were things that I had said, jokes like, "Hey, anyone want to go kidnap a governor?" Making fun of the FBI,
Yeah,
because anyone doesn't know, the FBI entrapped a bunch of people into trying to kidnap Governor Whitmer in Michigan.
I still do that with like SF guys I've had on the show. I'll text them and just be like, "Hello, Patriot. Like, do you guys want to go cut some guns off?" Like, just to be a dick. Like, instead of saying
Yeah,
like, "Hey, ready for the show?" I'll be like, "Hello, Patriot." Like,
and so that's where the kidnapping a governor thing
oh,
comes
fucking
from.
those faggots, those
Um,
fucking cocksuckers.
and they also accused me of treason and planning a coup, because someone, and to this I don't remember who their username or anything like that, because this was years and years ago. And at the time I didn't remember their username. I didn't even remember the conversation until I read parts of it. Um, some guy was saying, and this was, I think, between January 6th and the inauguration, and someone was saying, what would it take? All the Q stuff was going on. And someone was like, what would it take for a military coup? And I'm like, um, that's not going to happen. And I was describing in detail why it wouldn't happen,
Sure.
because you would need some colonel somewhere in charge of an infantry brigade, probably, who had enough men loyal to him
Yeah.
to go and do that, which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Who is willing to do that, which also doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then you would need all of the generals in DC to be
It,
out of the way.
it's not
And so that's
500
where the
years ago where if you just went and kicked down the door and took the throne, you were in charge. Like there are from the
yeah,
Cold War and mutual assured destruction, there are
yeah,
tiers and contingencies and intentional decentralization and chains of succession so that nothing, not just a coup, but even a thermonuclear warhead can't do that.
yeah,
It's nigh impossible. If I went and took
yeah,
over the White House right now, it would mean nothing. It would
yeah.
mean nothing. I don't have the aircraft carrier strike groups are like, fuck, Tommy's in charge now.
No.
No.
Um
So
so
you're saying why it can't happen?
and I would say in order for that, for someone to even get to the point of taking over DC, the military, someone in the military taking over DC, you would have to get rid of all the generals in DC. And I pulled up uh you'd have to kill enough officers,
Oh, there you go.
and eventually Biden will stumble his way to you, basically. Um, and I said, presumably they form a Congo line, because that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Because a lot of those generals have security details and things like that.
of course. So you're going through in detail why it can't happen, and they're taking it as your. It's like if someone said, "Why can't you fly a plane to the White House?" You'd be like, "Well, number one, you have like anti-air batteries, you have constant surveillance, you probably have EMP weapons that's fortified with this fucking classified
Yeah,
concrete composite." And they're taking it as like you're drawing up blueprints, and you're
yeah,
instead you're saying why it can't happen.
yeah. Because
Those
all of
fucking
the things
faggots.
that you would have to do basically makes it impossible. And um, they took only portions of my statements, nothing of the other guy, and said, "You're planning to do this."
Jesus fucking
Well,
Christ.
did anyone make any moves to do anything like that? No. So obviously, I wasn't planning to do that. Sort of like I was not planning to kidnap the governor, because I never did anything to even draw up a plan. It's a joke at the expense of the FBI. And obviously, DC field office can't take a joke. Um, they also have me using racial and homophobic slurs in Don's private server, where pretty much everyone does that, because that's how we talk to each other.
Exclusively.
Pretty much.
If you don't, you're a faggot.
Yeah.
What?
So basically, and then they give me a general discharge, which is one step, general under honorable, which is one step below an honorable. And I submitted a letter to the colonel in charge of that was the separation authority, saying, "Hey, free speech is still a thing. Give me an honorable." Because at that point, I was not planning on reenlisting. I had
Yeah.
2.5 years left in. I would have gotten out this past August if I hadn't this hadn't happened. Um, and but I don't know if the guy ever read it, but he was supposed to, but who knows. Um, And so, yeah, from what I can tell, someone made the connection. Um, and the FBI made the connection between me and Don and my brother, who were at January 6th.
Hmm.
Um, and saw where I worked and were like, we don't want that guy there. Get him
Yeah.
out. And so they cut stuff together to make an excuse to get me out.
Yeah.
And they were in such a hurry that there was not even a comment regarding the investigation into my security clearance file. Um, and I know that because in that 3 or 4 months that I was hol- sitting at that holding unit pending an investigation, one of the things they had me doing for busy work was helping out. The base had a new security manager that was in charge of all the security clearances and stuff for base, for the garrison command. And um, it had been a bunch of temporary people in similar situations, but like not investigated that would deal with security clearance, but have to be somewhere else pending like a divorce or something like that. And so they get put in charge for 6 months and then they move on to wherever else they're going. And then it had been like that for years. And so the records were not being kept up. So I was helping this guy go through, scrub the records, and um, get new files for everyone that was in their under their responsibility. And he, every time I would go in, he would double check my security clearance because he doesn't want someone that doesn't have a security clearance helping with him with that. And he would look and say, "You still got a clearance, still no comments." And then when I went to out process the army, I had to have him sign off because security manager is one of the boxes to check. And he said, "Still clearance, still no comments. I'm releasing you to be picked up by someone else so that they don't close out your clearance." And he knew that I didn't plan on getting another government job, which I could have, probably, but on paper I could have. Um, but he said, in case you ever want to, makes it easier. And so, yeah. So after 5 years, 11 months, and 17 days or something like that of service, got the boot.
It's pretty gay. I mean,
Yeah.
to play devil's advocate just for the sake of it. I mean, it's pretty clear. It was an undercover operation to have it's called violent agitators there to break all that shit, inviting people in, opening the
Mm-hmm.
doors. Okay, sure, yeah, and I do believe that. And I think most people know that. But it's just, you're a foot soldier in the FBI. You don't fucking know that. You're not read into that. As far as you're concerned, a lot of people did go and break windows, and you can't do that, right? That's no good. You can't. As someone that was there, and luckily I videotaped the whole thing, and that's what saved me was because I literally had 4K 60 frames per second record POV of my entire time there, like walking from a hotel, walking back, and everything in between. That's what saved me. But just devil's advocate, sure, a bunch of people go there, break, vice president is there. He's second in line for nuclear. Sure. You got to investigate it. Sure. If you do work at at Waka, you need to, you need to be investigated. As I need to be investigated.
Well, I wasn't there.
I know. I'm trying to pretend that like you're like another dude my age. Like let's say you're the FBI agent there. You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, I'm not read into the Black Ops program about let's steal the election and then use, CIA ground branch agitators to go steal Nancy Pelosi's lap. Like, I just there's probably some other poor schmuck like you that's like, I know you didn't do anything, but I have to go look at, like that's what I'm trying to
Hmm.
say is like, sure, but it also has to be very clear that like, hey, he didn't do anything. But then it becomes clear that that's not what they're after. Someone has to pay. Someone's head has to roll. Someone above you has a boss who has a boss who has a boss who was told or who decided that it looks good if I remove someone, if I find someone that's responsible. It's like someone always has to get fired. It's like when the test pilot dies in an experimental craft, you always blame it on the pilot, even if it wasn't him, because someone has to take the fall. And he's dead, he can't defend himself, so you blame it on him. Someone
Hmm.
always has to get the boot. It's just human nature. It's not good. Someone somewhere decided that either they were told you have to weed out people in your agency or your immediate whatever the fuck, you know, underlings, or some dude's a total faggot bootlicker and was like, if I say I removed someone, that looks like I'm really doing my job. I mean, for all you know, you were a sacrificial lamb, and that you got removed, and some dude now looks like he's a true believer, and he got read into some SAP because he's shown to be true blue. He'll burn his own men. It's immoral as fuck, but I'm just trying to like look at it as like emotionally detached as I can as to why it happened. Yeah, no, someone did it.
Hmm.
Someone again, I think what really lucked me out is I had video of everything I did, every word I said. You can literally just see me look. You see me as soon as windows start breaking, you see me going, "Oh," and you like literally, it was like a shitty comedy. You see like the camera pan, and I see like riot police coming, and I go, they will absolutely shoot civilians. And I just go, I'm leaving. And you just hear me go, I'm getting the fuck out of here. That's what saved
Yeah.
me. But had I not, I mean, they came to me because they were like, you do a podcast, you talk about this. And I was like, well, how am I a threat? And I think they said like threat is in 10 times capability. And I was like, dude, I have a biology degree. What are you talking about? And they were like, you interview a lot of people. And I was like, oh, sure. I am friends with Delta Force. Sure. And they are also not fans of Biden. Luckily for me, I had video evidence of everything I did. And so, go fuck
Hmm.
yourself. I'm not
Yeah.
agreeing with anything they did. I'm just trying to understand why it happened. Then it comes down to
Hmm.
someone way above you was either saving their ass, they were told someone has to go, and they just said, fuck it, here's someone, pick them out, remove them. Or someone is a total cuck, and they went, if I show that I'm willing to remove people, I'll get a
Yeah.
raise. And maybe he did or didn't. That, that's,
And
that's what
on
had to have
my in
happened.
my chapter, there's zero actual mention of January 6th.
Yeah, and of course, the fact that they didn't immediately remove everything from you says that you weren't a real threat or even considered a real threat by them.
No, it was just they saw my politics. They
Yeah,
saw
someone
my,
had
my
someone had to
politics were
go.
apparent,
Someone had
and
to
so
go.
they were like, "We don't want him here."
It's the last day of the month, and the cop sees somebody going 6 miles an hour over, and they got a quota, and you got fucked.
Yeah,
Nothing
and
personal, kid. Even though it is personal, it's your job.
yeah,
That's
and
what it is.
am I glad that I'm no longer in the army? Absolutely, I'm glad that I'm no longer in the army. I didn't want to
Take
keep
it as
working there.
well. Also, take it as a blessing, man. You just
Yeah, I'm
saw
much
how
happier
it's
working in construction now. I
well.
drive a
It's
truck
all
now.
well. It's also you saw how expendable as a widget you are. If anything,
Hmm.
take it as a blessing, man. You
Yeah,
saw what they were willing to do.
yeah,
For the record, I'm not siding with them. They're all faggots. I'm just talking,
agreed.
thinking aloud about like why
Yeah,
it happened. Somebody got a raise, or more likely, they didn't get a raise, and now they just destroyed whatever trust anyone in their circle had with them because they saw them sacrifice. There is some faggot somewhere that didn't even get a raise. He's like, I did all this and I didn't even.
yeah. Then get that promotion.
Good, fuck him.
Yeah.
That's.
Um.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that is it is it is total dog shit. And then you also, yeah, you kind of see just how much, you will be replaced.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I mean, if probably is a blessing, you know. How old are you?
I'm 27 now.
Okay. Can you imagine this happening at 57? And you're like, I've given this my life because something happened in the year 2055. You're like, I've
Or at
given this my life. And they're like, you were
or at
always on the chopping block.
36 when I'm 2 years from retirement.
Yeah, or whatever. Or you've been
Yeah.
doing this your whole life and you got a wife and kids and you're looking forward to a pension and whatever the fuck. And it's take it as a
Yeah.
blessing, man. It's
Yeah.
which is easy to say for me. It's like, I'm only familiar with your universe for this 1 hour. It's not like it's my life.
Hmm.
But, you know,
Oh, it absolutely is.
yeah,
Um, and I'm much, much, much happier now. Um, Not making quite as much money, but much happier.
yeah, yeah, man. No, I'd say take it as a blessing. It's like I always look back to applying to medical school. I graduated the University of Georgia in 2013, and I really spent my entire 4 years of college like not really partying or having fun. All I did was study, and it's what I don't regret it. It's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a doctor, and scored very well on the entrance. Did all the shit. Had the fucking like S tier application, and a huge thing about it is not only doing well but also applying early. It's because like 50,000 students apply every year. So I had all my shit ready and they were like, really, if you're in like the top 1% of like go-getters, you'll apply in the first 7 days. And my logic was like, I'm going to apply in the first like 7 seconds. Like I'm literally going to wait till it's
Mm.
open and then, which makes sense. You put all this time into it. Of course, the final thing you're going to do is you make sure you apply early. And I did and all that. And it was legitimately like 4 years of my life. I mean, really, I had no life for 4 years. All I did was study. I really didn't, that's all I did. And like an hour after the applications opened, then they sent out like new forms for everyone to fill out because I guess no one applies in the first hour because most people aren't crazy like me. And I had already sent all my shit in. You have to physically send it in. You can electronic. It's med schools. They treat it like an FBI fucking interview.
Hmm.
And I was like, wait, what the fuck? And so I had to get all my shit, get it like sent, verified. You couldn't just print it out. Like they send you one. It's like the carbon paper. The point is it was all so fucked and jammed up that it ended up delaying my ability to send it in by like 90 days, which looks awful. And I just remember thinking like legit like what did I do to deserve this? Like I've dedicated every moment of my like waking hours to doing this. And so eventually I did get in, but I didn't get in until like most people get accepted that fall. I didn't get accepted till like the following summer. By that time, I had kind of realized I didn't want to be a doctor. And I had also lost a brother to suicide in that period and realized I, even if I wanted to, I got to take a year off. Why does that matter? Well, as my uncle, who was a doctor, said, you can't dip your toes in a med school. The only way to pay off medical school debt is by becoming a doctor. It's a catch 22. Only way you're paying off 80 grand a year in tuition is by becoming a surgeon.
Mm.
So once you start, you have to go through with it. And a lot of people got in, 20,000 people apply. They get and they say you're accepted. You have like 3 days to decide. Because if you're not, they got to fill their slots. They're like, get the fuck out. So people do it. They fucking go to the loan office. You go to Sally Mae. You find 8160, $320,000. I'm in. Go for it. Got it. Good. Had I been accepted, I 100% would have signed everything and gone and become a doctor. I now look back at that and I think I legitimately probably would have killed myself had I become a doctor. I don't even mean that like loosely. I hate it so much and everything about it. And it has been such a blessing to really drop all of it, kind of redecide what I want to do with my life and start this show. And do I make as much money? No. I'm my own boss and I get to do whatever the fuck I want. But my point is sometimes little stuff. You go, maybe it's a blessing because it's like you're 2 minutes late to work. But sometimes the blessing is so in disguise that if somebody told you it was a blessing, you'd probably want to hit them. Be like if somebody told me like, "Hey, maybe it's a blessing that all this didn't happen," I would have put a bullet in their head. But I look back now and I'm like, no, that changed my life.
Hmm.
And you go, why did I just? And I now look back and I go, what did I do to deserve this? Clearly, I'm on God's good side. And so
Hmm.
stuff like that, it really does. Sometimes it takes years to actually make sense of it and to be grateful for it. And that's not at all the same as your situation, but in a way, it is. In that, like you, I'm not making as much money. Man, I'm a lot happier. And let's say I had become a doc. I got banned from YouTube and everything for all the episodes I did with doctors about COVID and COVID vaccine because I was like, this is fucked. Like, I know that this is wrong, and it is my duty to speak out about it. I would imagine if and that sort of like whatever fabric of me, ethical backbone would have also existed as a doctor, and I would have been fired. But instead of getting banned from YouTube, I would have been $500,000 in debt and had a useless medical degree. And so it's better that this happened now than when you're 57.
Hmm.
And this whole spiel doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about, but just in general, trying to make sense of it and digest it is, yeah, you're like, damn, that kind of needed to happen. And now it's over. And I'm glad I got it out of the way, kind of thing.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense, if I'm anywhere near.
No, absolutely it does. I One of the first things that I did after the FBI left was
Job
uh,
applications.
no, pray.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first things I did was pray, and
Like, guide me through this storm. I don't know what the fuck this is.
yeah, and what God told me um, pretty quickly was I'm not I'm not going to tell you how this is going to end up, but it's going to be for my glory. It's going to be for the better.
Yeah.
And so I held on to that,
Yeah.
and so from the jump, when I had absolutely no clue what was going on, I was walking, just taking another step without knowing whether there was anything there under my feet.
Yeah.
Just walking in faith
Yeah.
because I knew that God got it.
Yeah. And
And
it's a humbling experience.
yeah,
It's always easy to like give glory to God when it's like a beautiful sunset and you just found a penny.
yeah,
It's when it's like really fucked. You're like,
yeah.
are you doing this? You really don't? All right.
Hmm.
But yeah, you look and you go, damn, that really was. And it's like, well, what's the importance of this? Well, it's to understand that I hope there's not for me or for you, but there probably is another one of these. I don't mean with the FBI. I mean a life experience that blindsides you in the middle of the day and upends everything, and
I just had one a few weeks ago,
yeah, and
couple couple months ago. Yeah.
you're gonna have to throw it up to the big man and be like, okay,
Hmm.
you walked me through the last one. I'm still scared and anxious, but okay. And it might not be that it makes
Hmm.
sense in 10 hours. It might take 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
All right, left foot, right foot. All right,
Mhm.
God's got this. And yeah, man, it can be fucked, but it really is. It kind of comes back to like only God can do. Only God can turn a fucking FBI interrogation into a win.
Hmm.
And so that's how I always try to look at like even with this podcast. I'm like, and never have any idea like where the next year is going. How is it gonna make money? But I'm
Hmm.
always just like, as much of like an asshole and unserious as I am, I'm like, I know I try to do the right thing. I know I try to give a voice to people who can't talk.
Hmm.
I know I don't cheat people. I don't stab them in the back. I try to be as honest as I can. Okay. Left foot, right foot. Where are we
Yeah.
going? And it's,
And maybe this isn't what you're doing for the next 15 years, but it's what you're doing right now.
yeah.
So,
And if all this ended right now, I'd be like, no, 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 no. I've given every moment of my life and soul to this podcast for 5 years. Well, it sounds a
mhm,
lot like every moment I gave to med school.
mhm. Sounds a
Okay, but
lot like
that,
every moment I gave to the army.
yeah, and you're like, well, you're like, okay, I get the whole med school. That's a good story and all, but I can't do this with the podcast. And then in 10 years, I might be like, thank fucking God that podcast ended because XYZ ABC led to one, two, three.
Who knows?
And I think all of it, honestly, are, oh, fuck, we gotta wrap it up. I have another show. I think, honestly, all of it, though, is kind of preparation for the final trust. And it's when you leave this world,
Hmm.
when you're on your deathbed or whatever, and you really got to throw it up. And you're like, we're going over the waterfall. You're at the top of the roller
Hmm.
coaster. No one knows what comes, not the smartest person, not the richest, not the poorest. Your heart's going to
And
slow down and your brain's going to stop pumping blood or you're going to stop receiving blood and it's going to go dark. And you go, all right.
and if you're been white knuckling it on your own for your whole life, that's probably a pretty scary time.
Well,
But if
because
but
there's
if you've
nothing
been
else to do on your own. You're like, well, now I'm dead.
yeah,
How do I do
but
this on my own?
if you've been living your whole life walking with God and you know, okay, he's got me because
You're
he's
like,
had me here and here and here and here and here and here and here.
big man's got me.
And
Yeah.
so then it's like, okay, just another step.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's not scary. It doesn't mean you're not anxious, but you go, all right. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, give my life to the Lord. And like
Yeah.
that is what it is. It's just all this whole thing is kind of
Mhm.
preparation for dying. It really is. It's all these are little deaths. It's your army death, my pre-med death, my whatever. They're
Mhm.
all little deaths. And then the big one. And I think that's kind of yeah, I think God's always had me. It's always been scary.
Mhm.
It's no less scary now, but the big man's got me. And that's kind of what it is. And so even these blessings, you might look back at one day and go, "Oh, all those troubles, thank God." Because now,
Mhm.
as I'm slowly, getting older, and everyone I know is dying, I could
Yeah.
be filled with the worst dread in the world, or I could just be being all
Man.
right. It's I know God's
There's
got me.
if you have time, there's one story about thankfulness that I always love, that I always go back to. Have you read The Hiding Place by Corey Ten Boom? Recommend it. It's about a Dutch family that was hiding Jews during World War II, and they got caught. And so she and her sister got sent to a prison camp. And her sister made a habit of thanking God for everything. And they were in a flea infested barracks. And her sister said, "Thank God for the fleas." And Corey said, "Why? Why? Why would you thank God for fleas?" Well, it turned out the guards wouldn't go into that barrack because of the
Please.
fleas. So they were free to worship God and share about him to everyone else in there without impunity, with no consequences, because
Yeah,
the guards were afraid to go in. So thank God for everything.
legitimately everything.
Legitimately, even the bad things.
Even that, did I look at it all the time and I go,
Yeah.
me and my brothers always say, we go, the worst and best thing that ever happened to me was losing a brother. Because it
Hmm.
the worst for obvious reasons, best because it's really hard to fear other things after you've gone to your
Yeah.
brother's, including FBI knocking on your door. You're kind of like, this sucks, but it's still not as bad as
Yeah.
like, so you're trying to like, yeah, I mean, we'll do it, but I mean, whatever.
And thank God that I've never had to deal with anything like losing a sibling.
Yeah.
But
And
um,
if you do one day, you will go through,
statistically, I have three of them. One of them is
you,
probably going to die before me at some point.
you will, and you will move forward and you will one
Hmm.
day be grateful for it. And
Hmm.
it's thank God for everything.
Absolutely.
Amen.
All right.
We got to wrap it up. because I'm an
All
idiot
right.
and I don't know how to, manage my own show and not schedule shows on top of one another because I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't know what the blessing in that one is. That might just be like, hey, dude, stop being a jackass.
Yeah.
But
All right.
dude,
Thank
that
you
was
for
fun
having
as
me on,
fuck.
Tommy.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to do another sometime. I'll text this to you and yeah, man, stay in touch. That was a beautiful talk. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for watching. Take